Welcome to the Top Dog Mindset Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of running a successful dog training business. I'm your host, Kevin, joined by my co-host, Angel. Together, we bring you expert insights, inspiring stories, and practical tips. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, we're here to provide you with the necessary information to build a thriving dog training company. So relax, join us with a cup of coffee as we explore the Top Dog Mindset Podcast. All right, welcome in, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Top Dog Mindset Podcast. Kevin and Angel here. Got another really cool episode for you guys. So today we're going to be talking about the shift that you have to make when it comes to moving from being a employee inside of a business over to being the entrepreneur and the business owner. So Angel, with that being said, this was something that you thought was going to be a really good topic to talk about today, and you were talking to one of our clients about it, and he said something that kind of made you think like, hey, this could be really an awesome topic for a podcast. So why don't you kind of just like share your thoughts on this and kind of like what this made you think of?
Yeah, so I'll talk about him for a second. I have brought him up on an episode before, so it might sound familiar. So the situation that it came from was a client of ours who at one point was struggling financially, and it got to a point where he felt like he needed to get another job, like a part-time job. And so he started working for a realty company, and he was doing like appointment setting and like following up with clients and stuff like that. But obviously being an employee, like he has very specific duties that he needs to do and fulfill and all that kind of stuff. And so the biggest thing that he took away was like the actual benefits of following up with leads. And this company that he's working for, he told me like they are absolutely brutal with following up with people. Like they're going to continue following up with people until someone straight up says, leave me alone, I am not interested. And so he was seeing like how well it was working. And so he decided to take those same things over to his own business and get more, brutal about following up with people. And then he noticed it was working in his own business. But I talked with him yesterday, and I was talking with him about that same situation just because he's been a topic of conversation lately for a lot of different things. And so I was talking to him about that, and he basically said like a big realization for him was that he had been operating for so long with an employee mindset instead of a business owner mindset. And I feel like just hearing that from him, turned on this light bulb in my head. And I'm like, that is like a perfect way of saying it.
Yep.
It's something that we know, but it's like have never said it in those exact words. So I thought that was perfect. And I think that a lot of people deal with this in different ways. One of the things that I see it manifesting with a lot of clients that we speak to are just kind of like making excuses and finding something or someone other than themselves to put the blame on when something in their business isn't working.
Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah.
100%. Yeah. And that can be a parent, that could be a friend, that could be an employee or somebody that you started the business with that screwed you over or whatever it is. And it could also be the economy. It could be who the current president of the United States is. It could be literally anything. But I've heard it all from people. I've heard, Donald Trump is the reason I can't be successful. And I've heard Joe Biden is the reason I can't be successful. And either way, when I hear that stuff, it just makes me kind of cringe because I'm like, there are businesses that were started in some of the most prolific, successful businesses of all time that were started in their mom's garage during massive recessions and economic downturns. Or, they started and they've been through, 5 different presidents, right? And so using anything like that to blame why you're not successful, blaming your success on that specific thing is just, you immediately need to redirect and say, what can I be doing differently here? This is not a good use of my time because it's just something that's external and completely outside of your control. So I think the main thing that I see a lot of too is there's a lot of dog trainers who are amazing dog trainers and they fall into owning their own business because they're working for somebody else. Maybe their boss doesn't treat them with respect or whatever it may be. And then they just start getting this opportunity to train on the side and people hear you're a dog trainer. So you start getting referrals. And before you know it, it kind of grows and you have enough work to keep yourself occupied. And that's fine, but that's kind of like the freelancer mentality, right? And you kind of still never really made the decision to fully go into your own business and be an entrepreneur and be a business owner. And so because of that, you kind of run your business the way that you were operating when you were working for somebody else. So that's just to say that you're probably focusing on things that are not going to be the things that necessarily move the needle forward in the business. And one of those things that I see a lot of is focusing way too much attention, scrutinizing over just, this is going to sound crazy, but I think it's true, the training. Like I see a lot of people who that's the only thing they focus on and they let everything else fall by the wayside. So this is the mark of a really good entrepreneur. It's not that I'm telling you guys like, hey, don't deliver good results. Like who cares about your clients? I'm not saying that at all. You should focus on delivering world-class dog training results to your clients, but you should also be focusing on delivering world-class customer service and sales experiences to your clients, right? Not just like this one thing, hey, I do this really, the dog training really well. You need to focus on all that other stuff as well. So that's the number one thing I see. But Angel, what is it for you?
Yeah, so I mean, I want to touch on something you said before about like the specific things that people will shift blame on, like the economy or the president or a relationship gone bad in their own life or something like that. And it's like if you're going to put the blame on so many like truly outside factors, like things like having absolutely nothing to do with your business, like then if you think about it, you can really never run a business. Because if you're planning on running a business for the next 30 years, I mean, this sounds harsh, but you kind of just have to consider it failed right now because not everything is going to line up perfectly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Our president is going to keep changing. The economy is going to keep changing. The housing market is going to keep changing. You're going to gain new relationships and old ones are going to like, you know, fall apart and all that kind of stuff. So not everything is going to be aligned perfectly. There's always going to be something or someone to put the blame on. Now, factors in like within your business, I feel like a good way to think of it is like, well, let me back up for a second. So when we're talking with our clients and you know someone is struggling, we need to figure out, okay, why do you feel that way? Do you feel like you're not closing enough sales? Do you feel like you're not getting enough leads? Like, what is it? And a lot of the time people are just like so broad about it. Like no one is serious about training and they just leave it at that. And so we'll kind of like nitpick and just like get super granular about all of it. How many leads have you gotten in the last whatever time frame? How many of those have you scheduled consults? How many of those consults did you actually close? And we're kind of like breaking it down. And then a lot of the time we end up breaking it down to, okay, you're not having a sales issue because every single consult that you've gone into, you've sold all of them. So then we get into like the appointment setting part, scheduling consults, and a lot of the time like that's where it starts. Or it might be you're not having an issue scheduling consults, you're just not answering the phone. But a lot of the time people are skipping all of these little but very important steps and then just go straight to, well, I'm not selling anyone. Why am I not selling anyone? Because no one's serious. No one's serious about training and stuff like that. And so think of it from the lens of like, if you had a team of like, you had an appointment setter, you had someone who follows up with leads, a totally separate person who follows up with leads, you have a totally separate person who goes in for the in-person consultations to make the sales, you have different people to do the training. Like imagine you had an employee for every single part of the business. If there is something going wrong, you're not going to automatically say people aren't serious about training. Because you have such a big team to take care of, you likely would figure out what is going on within each of those things. And then you might go to, okay, well, the person who's supposed to be answering the phone isn't answering the phone. I didn't train them well enough. Or maybe I didn't, teach them how to navigate a phone conversation. So let me fix that first. You fix that one thing and then everything else starts like going where it's supposed to be. So I'm just saying that because when you have other people, like an entire team you're responsible for, it's a lot easier to, I guess, like shift the blame on people who are assigned to that specific duty and then you just help them get better. But when you're a one-man team, people don't often think about that. People aren't breaking down like your different specific roles within your business and you just go straight to blaming the leads themselves.
One of the key markings of somebody that we start working with that I know is going to freaking destroy and do so well in their business is personal responsibility and accountability. And when they come to us and they say, hey, I'm struggling, but I know it's something that I'm doing. What can I do here? And I'm not saying, hey, we're perfect, we never do anything wrong. There's always things that can be tested and optimized and changes and ad accounts and all that stuff. But I've seen people who swear up and down that the leads are no good. And then we do some coaching with them and we get them plugged in with a better sales process. And then miraculously, they start closing, and they start closing 50% of their leads, 60, 70, 80%. And then they say to me later on, I look back on it now and I know exactly what I was doing wrong when I was only closing 3% of my leads or whatever the number is. And so that is a mark of just such a good entrepreneur is open-mindedness and realizing that there's a deficit of knowledge here. And it doesn't mean that I'm a bad person or that makes me stupid or that makes me less than or anything like that. It's just that I need to sharpen my skills. And when you start a business and pick anybody, you're a plumber, you're a dentist, you are a dog trainer, you just don't have the reps yet that you will have in 10 years. And so I'm sure all of us can look back on when we first started doing whatever trade that we're in now and look back and go like, man, I really understand what I was doing wrong and I would never do that and do what I was doing then now. But a lot of times, like, we focus so much attention on just sharpening that one tool in our toolkit of becoming the best dog trainer possible. And it's not the only tool. It's not the only skill that you need to have. You need to be really good at dog training. You need to be really good at marketing. You need to be really good at sales. You need to be really good at managing money. You need to be really good at customer service, right? And there's a list of other things too. And so put the same emphasis on getting good at those other things that you put on getting good at dog training, and I guarantee that your business will change drastically over the next couple of months.
Yeah, I think open-mindedness is a very, very important part of it. I had someone come to me recently wanting some help, didn't like straight up ask me for advice, but they came to me with like very specific complaints, I guess you could say. But then when I started trying to help them like work through those things and offering solutions to their problems, they flat out said no. So it's like one of those situations where it's like you're making these complaints and you're pointing out like these things that are going wrong, but then someone like actually has answers for you or like a different outlook on something to look into that you haven't yet. And it's some people maybe are a little bit more reluctant to take advice. They might listen to you, like hear you out, but then not actually apply it. But this person just flat out said they weren't interested. And so it's like, you know, if you're going to be so closed off and not even like willing to hear another side that's completely different than the way you've been operating, you can't expect to grow from that.
Yeah. The only one thing that you can be sure that you know for a fact in life is that you don't know everything. And as soon as you accept that, you will become so much more open-minded and you will become so much more successful. You know, you listen to all these entrepreneurs talk about it. Like Steve Jobs would talk about this. I've heard Jeff Bezos talk about this, and everyone understands this and they hear this and it sounds like a really cool, like one-liner that really successful entrepreneurs say, where it's, I don't hire people that I need to tell them what to do. I hire people so they can kind of teach me what to do, right? And make my life easier. And that's what really good hires is about. Hiring somebody who's appropriate for the job so you don't need to worry about it and you don't need to babysit them and, you know, drag them across the finish line on every little task and stuff like that. But when it comes to coaching or your business, it's very easy to have this hardened ego where it's, I know everything. Don't tell me what to do. And as soon as you just kind of realize that, the only thing I know is that I know nothing, and that's kind of the way that I try and go about it, you start opening yourself up to way more effective, proficient, and just better ideas and better ways of doing things. You know, what I always think about is anytime I pay money for a coaching program or, you know, someone to help me with a specific thing, I always go into it and just think to myself, I'd rather you tell me every little thing that I'm doing wrong so that I know what to fix. Because I've seen all the other client results you've gotten, right? I've seen this work for other people. But as soon as you go into it and you're thinking to yourself, hey, I want those results, but I want to do it my way, you're going to completely destroy the process. And nobody would like for their client to do that with them. It's like, hey, I have this dog that's bit 4 people, doesn't even know its own name, and it's completely out of control. I can't even get a leash on it. But by the way, I want you to train it, and I only want you to use this harness I bought yesterday from PetSmart. You'd be like, what? No, that's not how this works, right? But at the end of the day, people are like, I want these results, but I want to do it this way. And so I think open-mindedness is the most important thing. If you were to go and talk to somebody and they're already, some of the most successful, impressive people I've ever met, I sit, and sit down and have a conversation with them, and I'm shocked. I'm like, you're asking me questions. Like, why are you asking me? I should be the one asking you questions. But there's just people who specialize in all these different little nuanced little things. And people who are really successful know that the only way I'm going to accumulate knowledge is by, again, recognizing I don't know what I don't know and being able to be open-minded to hear somebody else's perspective.
Exactly. Like some of the most successful people have coaches to continue
Yeah.
learning. And I know a lot of dog trainers do continued education and are always like reading books and going to seminars and doing this and doing that, and that's great. You're bettering yourself as a trainer to better the product that you're giving to clients, but it shouldn't stop just at training, because you are also a salesperson, and you're also an appointment setter, and you are also like so many other things in your business, and those things you should equally be continuing to learn about, and getting that continued education, or have a coach, or be open to what your current coach is helping with, and even your coach has a coach to give you better results.
Exactly. You just said something. We may have said this on one of the last podcasts, but I think it's worth repeating. The most successful people had coaches and have coaches. Like, think about that. Michael Jordan had a coach. Who was equipped to coach Michael Jordan? He's literally like, when you, at least for me, right? I grew up playing basketball. And even if here's how you know how great he was. Even if you've never picked up or dribbled a basketball in your life, you know who Michael Jordan is. Everybody knows that name, right?
Yeah.
And he literally would sit every single week, go and meet with somebody, and they would critique his shot. They would critique, how he dribbles the ball, how he passes the ball. They would watch film together, and they would tell him, hey, you should be doing this differently. And so Tiger Woods, the same thing. Arguably the greatest golfer of all time. Pick anybody, entrepreneurs. You look at Alex Hormozy. He'll go to people still. Sold his company for $50 million. He's probably on track to be a billionaire soon. He still goes to people and pays them for their time, because there's things he's like, I don't know, and I want to know how to do this. Please expedite this for me. It is such a fool's way of looking at it, of I already know everything. I don't need somebody to tell me. So we don't need to hammer this too hard, just because I feel like we've gotten the point across. I think there's going to be people who take this to heart. And I think that that's the most important thing. It's just like, have an open mind and realize that there's just not everything you can know. You're not supposed to know everything. And so if you can open your mind and your heart to that, and just like let other people help you, I think that that's going to be the immediate way for you to fast forward your business light years in a shorter period of time.
Exactly. Open-mindedness and accountability, I think, are the biggest things to take away from this entire episode.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say, and then I think we can wrap up, is I always love listening to Jocko Willink talk on subjects like this, because he always talks about how his response, somebody said to him, it may have been Joe Rogan, said to him, how do you handle adversity? How do you handle tough moments? And he said, one word, good. So when something bad happens, my response is always good. So if I am supposed to get that new piece of machinery or technology that's going to make our job a lot easier, right? And that falls through. Good. It gives us an opportunity to become more innovative and more creative, right? I was supposed to get that raise and it didn't happen. Good. It gives me an opportunity to maybe go and look for something, right, outside that'll be better for me and my family, or give me a way to be more creative, right? You can sit there and just kind of get upset over every little thing. Hey, I didn't close this person. Good. It's an opportunity for you to kind of reflect on and go like, what happened here? Maybe you weren't supposed to have that client, right? Maybe it wasn't supposed to work out. Maybe they would have been somebody who would have been a total basket case and a nightmare for you. So I really think that's a really hard, it's an easy thing to say. It's a really hard thing to execute on when times are tough. But I think that that's like the most important thing. It's just not letting the lows get you too low. And as the saying goes, don't ever get too high with the highs and don't get too low with the lows, and just stay even keeled. And I think that's just like, that's another really important aspect of being an entrepreneur, is not like letting emotions dictate how you operate in your business.
Yeah, exactly. When a bad moment happens, or you have like a low time in your business, you allow that to negatively affect like the rest of the week or the rest of the month or whatever. Do the same thing when something good in your business happens. If you have a really good week or a really good day and you make like the most sales in one day as you ever made, allow that to positively impact the rest of your month.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing is comparison is the thief of joy, right? I've seen people that
Yeah.
literally make 3 sales, then all of a sudden, but I'm not, last month I did this, or, this person's doing this. And it's just stay in your own lane, focus on what you can, and use those other people or those other moments that you've experienced as inspiration, not as like a point of sorrow. Yeah. All right. So listen, we'll wrap it up here for the day. We have another call we got to hop into here. But as always, we appreciate you guys. And if you know anybody that you feel like would get some good value out of these, and you found this helpful and you think it could be helpful to somebody else, do us a favor and pass along our information, tag somebody else in this video, send somebody this podcast, because it helps us grow. And we're just trying to get, in front of as many dog trainers as we possibly can to kind of help people and just kind of give them our perspective. So with that being said, we appreciate you guys, and we will see you guys all in the next video. See you guys.
Yeah.